My name is Alicia Quattropani, and this is journal entry number 1 for English 308. I decided to do a video blog because, well, simply because I've never been given the option to do so before, and I think it will be really, I don't know, it's just different for me. So I wanna try this out and see how it goes. I'd like to keep things um, pretty informal. I want to just kind of spit off a couple things, speak freely, and we'll see how this goes. So, let's go to the reading here. I found the reading to be extremely interesting, but very eye-opening. And I think it was very eye-opening to me because I never thought about some of this stuff before. Uh, One of the biggest examples, I think the big like whoa moment in my head, I guess, as I was reading through, it was a little bit earlier on in the reading, maybe the first 10 pages or so. There is a comparison between how oh, excuse me, of how asylums are not, I don't wanna say similar to a university, but universities and private higher education and asylums, they really kind of have the same goal in mind, which is to keep those who are different, who are physically or mentally or disabled, have a learning disability out. Really anyone that they think is not picture perfect, I guess is I don't know that's the best way to say it, but that's kind of what pops to my head is, anyone that's not what society accepts. And it's so true. It's so true. As I was reading this, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is yeah, that makes total sense. This is happening. This is how things are right now." And it is so incredibly disappointing. It makes me very disappointed, honestly, in our society. Um, and I'm hoping that we start going and moving towards the right direction. One of the questions to answer is to consider what are the stakes in our professions if we don't question our own ableist, I hope I'm saying that correctly, biases. And as I was reading through, I'm kind of trying to start to think of all all of those biases. And the first thing I think that popped in my head was just our simple everyday phrases or language that we use in conversation are absolutely, I think, some biases there. There's quite a bit of biases there. Something as simple as, say somebody across the room, they don't hear what you said to them, and their response is, "Huh?" or "What?" And you are like, "What are you, deaf?" That right there is discrimination. I mean, that is a and it may not be intentionally, you may not intentionally mean to harm or exclude or degrade somebody, but there's quite a bit of that in there. Because what if that person does have hearing loss or is deaf? It is just another way of comparing those who may be considered normal to those who may actually truly have a hearing disability, and making that person who may be considered normal to exclude them and bring them down to being not normal. Um, yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, this is really happening." One of the another thing I was thinking of as I was reading through, there was a little bit of a mention about just physical disabilities and how some of the universities and such, they're not even accessible to those who have physical disabilities. And I was thinking about a lecture hall that I had a course in like years and years and years ago that had an extremely steep incline with stairs on both sides. And as I was reading it, I was thinking about this room and thinking about how there was no way that someone with a physical disability if they were in a wheelchair, that they would be able to take a class in this room because it would not they would not be able to get in there. It was not accessible. And I think that is what the as of right now, these first few 30 pages or so are about, or just how universities are they're excluding people. I mean, that's their drive, it seems like. And one of I guess I thought another really good point that was made, I believe this was really early on in the reading, was there was um a part that discussed how higher education, they have all these disability studies, and they in academia, they make you want to think, oh, we want to learn so much, we want to know how we can improve the quality of life of those with disabilities, or whatever, but yet they don't allow those with those disabilities to attend their university. And I believe there was a section that was called lower education, and it basically, kind of what I took from it was, it talks about how higher education built a lower education for those who they do not think are a good fit for their university. So they're basically saying, hey, you know what? You have a disability. We support you. We're trying to do the research. We're trying to do the best we can, but we don't want you in our big university. We don't want you to have higher education. We don't think that you can process in, or maybe, we don't think it's as accessible to you. So here's a community college, or here's lower education. You can do this. Let the normal people have the higher education. And I never thought about it before, but it's so true, and it's so disappointing, and just it makes you, I don't know, it makes you wanna go run off and start your own society, I guess, or something, or your own community, because there's so many amazingly bright people who have really, really severe disabilities, who I believe would still be extremely successful in higher education. Temple Grandin was the first one of people that popped in my head, and I was lucky enough to actually attend a couple of her lectures where she talks about how she had disabilities, and gosh, she had to fight her way tooth and nail to go to university, to get a higher education, to get a doctorate. And look at her now. I mean, she is the one of the most she completely changed farming in terms of animal welfare and how we treat animals. I mean, she wrote the book for that. And thinking about it, I'm like, wow, if she was never able to attend the schools and get the higher education, we would not have had the amazing um, innovations and tools that she's provided us, at least in the animal field, with I'm losing my thought here. But yeah, so I don't know. It's crazy, I think, overall, and I'm really excited to kind of dig into this a little bit more, because I feel like I do not know much about those, or I'm not well educated in disability studies, and I don't really know very much about how those with disabilities are discriminated against in such a sneaky, slimy, I don't wanna say slimy, but that's what comes to mind, just like the skeevy, slimy way, um, and why we're allowing it to happen in our large universities. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this, and I'm interested to see what, the future readings are, and kind of dig into this a little bit deeper. So, yep. Who knows? Maybe next time I'll do a Word document, because I felt like this was weird. I don't know. Okay. Goodbye.